Yeah, so I mean, this kind of alludes to what we were speaking of, right? One of the criticisms, and we need to be mindful of criticisms that people have about mindfulness, right? That's one of the things that we've been trying to do over the summer, right? People view mindfulness as a very selfish endeavor sometimes, and people view the wellness industry as being kind of selfish sometimes, right? It's really geared towards, it's very me centric, me focusing on my own calmness, me becoming more compassionate, me becoming more happier, right? Happier is a whole nother term, right? There's a whole industry behind happiness and selling us happiness, and we always have to be happy all the time, right? So one of the really important aspects of mindfulness isn't just an individual component, becoming a happier me, but also using these tools as a way to better our world. And some of the greatest leaders of our time have used their mindful spiritual resources to better our world. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, right? These people were very spiritual, mindful people, right? But they didn't just leave it up to themselves. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm happier. Okay, oppression, I'm good. No, they used it as a way to better their world, right? And that's ultimately what we want, because we want to talk about, we want to allude to the fact that there are lots of systematic changes happening in our society, right? Not just COVID, right? Systematic oppression, prejudice, lots of things that are on the news, and we want to be active components towards change. We don't want to be passive, right? We don't want to just, no offense to monks, right? But we don't want to just sit on the mountaintops and just, yes, everything is good, right? We want to cultivate change in ourselves and amongst others. And it's also really important because lots of the science that comes from the field of criminology and law actually uncovers the fact that many of our biases are actually subconscious, right? Because our minds operate on heuristics and shortcuts. So actually they've done lots of studies that people implicitly associate African-American individuals with weapons, even if from all different demographics, right? And lots of that is heuristics and shortcuts. We've been primed by media to think those things, right? So it's really, really important. Like I talked about, we have some sort of conscious override to instill compassion, connection, especially with people who look different than us, right? Because whether we want to acknowledge it or not, many of us form very quick judgments about people, depending on what we've seen on TV, depending on preconceived notions that we may have heard from other people around us, right? So it's really important that we integrate some sort of mindful spiritual component into our lives. And that also focuses on communal healing, which is a great term by a Native American psychologist named Eduardo Duran, right? Communal healing, and what we're doing right now is we can put this in the umbrella of communal healing. People, even if it's virtually, sitting, talking to each other, connecting with each other, emotionally, socially, just being with each other. That's so important, right? Lots of the times emotions, sadness are relegated to just individual, right? If you're sad, just kind of go into your room, figure it out on your own and come back and join the rest of us, right? But actually in many indigenous societies, and Eduardo Duran is a Native American psychologist, in many indigenous societies, emotion is shared with people, right? It's just why you see so many elaborate rituals in indigenous societies, right? The birth of someone, they do an awesome dance and people have a feast with each other, right? Even sadness is shared with people, right? Some people cry with each other, right? That's not seen as being weird or taboo, right? So we have a lot to learn from the first psychologists, the indigenous people of our land. So I want to ask everyone here, now what inspires you to challenge systematic structures to inspire change, even if it's in the most smallest of ways? And there's a whole culture around stress, it's like we feel like we need to put ourselves through this like unlivable circumstances to like become that person in the future that we aspire to become, and one of the key things for me is somebody talked about small concrete steps, because we all have such big projects in our mind, and this future me who's a psychologist and blah, 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 but, comparing myself to who I was yesterday instead of who I'm going to be like 10 years from now, that's really helped me out. Now, also having a spiritual philosophy, for some of us that helps us out, seeing it as a test from a higher power and, just motivating ourselves in that manner. That helps me out. Well, first of all, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm glad that even through a pandemic going on, we can still find time to connect with each other. As we talked about, doing events like this, healing with each other, being with each other, just talking about what it means to be a human being. I mean, these are things that we take for granted, but these are the aspects of life that I cherish a lot, because we get lost in technology, we get lost in lots of other stuff, but there's nothing like human to human connection, right? So we're going to do just a very brief 3-minute acceptance and gratitude meditation as we come out of this and go into tomorrow, just having this as a foundation for the people we hope to become, hopefully. So we've established, the procedures of doing a meditation. Again, some of us are sitting upright. If you want to continue sitting like that, that's fine. Those of you who want to settle more into your seats, just bring yourself to a relaxed position, something that makes you comfortable. You can close your eyes if you'd like. You can keep them open. You can put your hands on your laps, or you can put them to your side. Just let yourself become the most comfortable you can become. Allowing your body to be relaxed, allowing yourself to be open, allowing your breath to be natural, your heart to be easy. Just continue taking normal breaths, feeling the natural rhythm of the breath, the cool air as it comes in, the warm air as it comes out. And we can learn to accept the fact that we're breathing. Trying not to put any judgment on it. Trying not to attach ourselves to the thought. The fact that we're able to breathe. At any moment, give ourselves life, air, energy, replenish ourselves. And slowly we can even extend our gratitude. If you believe in a higher power, if you have a spiritual dimension, you may want to extend your gratitude for letting us breathe. You may even want to thank Mother Nature and the earth for giving us oxygen, for giving us trees, accepting that we're part of this world. And as we practice gratitude, as we practice acceptance, notice any bodily sensations, any body movements, any feelings that come up. How does it feel to expand your gratitude, your acceptance? As we connect with that which grounds us and gives us purpose, we can repeat in our minds, I offer my gratitude for the safety and well-being I have been given. And continue breathing in a natural, rhythmic manner as you repeat in your mind, I offer my gratitude for the safety and well-being I have been given. And we can repeat, I offer my gratitude for the measure of health I have been given. Continuing to breathe in a natural, rhythmic manner, allowing our gratitude to extend itself in whatever direction we want, towards others, towards ourselves, towards our family, towards loved ones, towards friends, even towards strangers, other humans on this earth, even towards non-humans, if that's where your heart is telling you to go. We can repeat in our minds, I offer my gratitude for the family and friends I have been given. Continuing to breathe, allowing our heart space to expand. We can even picture those in our mind who have loved us, who have cared for us, our parents, our extended family, mentors, older siblings, younger siblings, those who we feel connected towards, finding time in this present moment to feel love, to feel compassion, gratitude, and acceptance towards those who have made an impact in our life, towards those who make our lives easier in ways that we may not notice, those who bring the food to our grocery stores, those who help pick fruits and vegetables that we eat, those who pave the roads that we drive on, those who help make our community clean, taking the time in our heart to extend our gratitude and compassion towards these people. And we can just sit with these feelings for a few moments. Feeling the radiance of gratitude, of love, compassion in our bodies. How that feels in our shoulders, in our stomach, in our chest, in our hands. Whether we feel calmer, more relaxed, more present. And as we come to our last inhale and exhale, let us imagine we're giving a big hug, sending our gratitude and love towards all those who have affected our lives, even in the most smallest of ways. We can take a final deep inhale, breathing in all the love and compassion and gratitude, letting our chest expand, and taking a slow, deep exhale, the biggest exhale we'll take all day, returning our gratitude and compassion to the world. And slowly, if there is still tenseness in our muscles, we can move our shoulders around a little bit, we can wiggle our toes, bring some movement into our hands, bring some movement into whatever other body part, and maybe feeling a little tense. Opening our eyes, returning to the world in a more compassionate, grateful, and loving manner.